the green, and then at the end of your 3 questions, or whatever.
Okay, we're about to formally open the meeting. So before we begin, councillors, can you all make sure your microphones are turned off? Thank you. And any other devices are silent for everyone in the chamber. Okay, and just a reminder, should we need to adjourn at any point, often the live streaming will continue. So just be aware of that. You might want to make sure your microphones are turned off at that point, if that was to occur. I think we have the live stream going. So, okay, all right. So good evening, councillors, officers and community members in attendance tonight. I also welcome members of the public who are live streaming tonight's meeting. My name is Councillor Christine O'Laris. I am the Darebin Mayor and the chairperson of tonight's meeting. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all to tonight's meeting, and I declare the meeting open at 6 p.m. So the meeting is being live streamed and a recording will be made and will be available on Darebin Council's website as soon as possible after the meeting. So I would like to start, as usual, by acknowledging that we are meeting here tonight on the lands of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people. They're the traditional owners and custodians of the land that we're on. I recognise their continuing connection to land, to water and culture, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. And on behalf of the Council, we would like to affirm our commitment to truth, to treaty and to self-determination for First Nations people. Want to welcome everyone along this evening. So councillors, we've got executive leadership team and officers joining us this evening. Councillor Boglis is on approved leave of absence, so she's not with us tonight. So before we get started, I need to just check in if anyone has any disclosures of conflicts of interest that they need to make. So this applies both to councillors and to relevant staff members. So if you have any conflict that relates to matters on the agenda tonight, you need to disclose those, the conflict and the nature of the conflict of interest. And they also need to be declared again immediately before the item on the agenda to remind us. So councillors and officers, are there any conflicts of interest to declare tonight? No? Okay, terrific. So if during the course of the meeting any motion or amendment is put that gives rise to a conflict of interest, then please do make sure you let me know at that point in time. The first item we're going to look at is confirmation of minutes of the previous meetings. So there's actually 3 meetings held on 23rd of July, special council meeting at 5:45 on the 30th of June, and the special council meeting held at 6 p.m. on the 30th of June, all in 2025. So could I please have a mover for the adoption of these minutes? Councillor Jelly and seconder Councillor Arturi. I'm just going to go straight to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand, and that's passed unanimously. Thank you. I'm going to just cover off on Council's OH&S responsibilities. So Council does have an occupational health and safety responsibility to ensure that everybody joining tonight's meeting, whether it be in person or online, feels both physically and emotionally safe. It's great to see so many people here this evening. I want to remind everyone in attendance to be respectful of one another, to maintain a civil tone when you're addressing the meeting, and if anyone engages in conduct that is improper or disorderly, the chairperson, which is me, may direct that person to cease their conduct, and the person must comply with that direction. So, thank you. Now we're going to move on to public question time. We have 30 minutes allocated for public question time, so if we look like we're going to exceed that, I will ask for a procedural motion to extend question time. In line with Council's governance rules, no questions will be taken from people in the gallery unless they were submitted by 12 p.m. today. You can only ask 3 questions and cannot speak for more than 2 minutes in total, and there is a clock up that you can keep an eye on how the time's going. Please keep in mind this is question time, so it's about questions, not making statements. Questions relating to notices of motion, to petitions or to urgent business will not be accepted in accordance with the governance rules. For members of the public who've registered to ask a question in person, I will call your name when it's time and you can just approach the pedestal. Make sure you turn the microphone on so that's lit green and then you can commence your 2-minute your question or questions. The relevant general manager will then provide a response. And we do group together like questions. So, for example, tonight there was a number of questions that came in around trees. So these will be grouped together and the first person who submitted a question gets to be the person that asked the question. Okay, we'll get started. So, we don't have any online questioners today, but we do have a number of people who aren't here but who have asked for their questions to be read out. So the first person is not attending, but John Gorman has a series of questions that relate to e-scooters. So I'm going to ask Vanessa Petrie. No, I'm going to ask Anna.
Thank you, through you, Mayor.
Yep, thank you.
John Gorman has 3 questions. The first is on page 11 of the Ordinary Council meeting minutes of 24 June 2024. There appears to be a recommendation at paragraph 5B for the removal of e-scooters project at $50,000. Does this refer to the money being used for the e-scooter trial, and if so, how did it come to return to the budget? Question 2, is Darebin Council aware of Yarra Council reporting in the ABC that its own e-scooter trial ended up costing an estimated $750,000 in the 2024 financial year? Does Darebin expect a trial here to cost no more than $50,000? And the third question, what procurement policies or other guidance would Darebin Council have to follow in order to subsidise multinational companies?
Thank you, Anna, and now I will call on Vanessa to answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions, John, and through you, Mayor. With your first question, this was an officer recommendation for Council to note the item had been amended since the draft budget. The item was amended by Council to addition of $50,000 to commence the e-scooter trial project in 2025, and it was adopted as part of the 2024-25 annual budget. The $50,000 was spent on planning work for the trial. Regarding the second question, the City of Yarra's circumstances are unique and involve an ongoing VCAT case. The publicly reported costs of their e-scooter trial do not reflect the information we've obtained regarding typical expenditure for shared e-scooter trials in Victoria. And for your question 3, Council is not procuring e-scooters for the trial. They are owned and operated by private companies who pay a daily fee to Council.
Thank you. The second question is from Matthew Piper. So this is actually the group of, I think there was 9 people who submitted questions around trees. Matthew was the first. So it relates to nature strip trees, and I will ask Anna again to please read the question.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Matthew has 2 questions. Can Council please explain why nature strip trees are not getting protected during construction with tree protection zones? And the second question, a recent audit of around 30 sites found that over 95% of sites were not compliant. How many fines have been issued in the last 12 months for sites not having tree protection zones?
Okay, and Vanessa, would you take that one? No, Rachel. Right. Okay.
We've been collaborating today. Thank you, Mayor. So thank you to everyone who's asked questions about tree protection. There's been quite a lot, so my answer will respond to the question that's just been read out, but also a number of others that have been submitted today. And I will try and respond to them all in the one answer. So the main way that significant trees on private property are protected in Darebin is under our tree protection on private property local law, and that applies to all trees over 8 metres tall and with a trunk of more than 1 metre around when measured at 1.5 metres from the ground. Tree removal is considered as a last resort, and decisions regarding tree removal permits consider risks or damage to people or property, including considering the health, structural integrity and the age of a tree, environmental and amenity impacts of loss of a tree, the needs of a landowner, feasibility of other options such as pruning. The main advantage of the local law is it applies to all trees. It was brought in to protect trees in 2019 after the need for stronger rules was identified in 2013 when Council prepared an urban forest strategy, although at the time that strategy suggested a significant tree register. Instead, our local law defines what a significant tree is. The local law uses notices and fines. It doesn't use the same method as the City of Melbourne, and flood risk is considered at a city-wide level, not at the level of an individual tree, because the structural condition of a tree is an overriding consideration when we're thinking about an individual tree. Some properties also need planning permits and or asset protection permits for trees on nature strips. In these cases, builders have to put up temporary fencing to protect nature strip trees. And our procedure is for authorised officers to do at least 2 inspections during works. Since 2019, Council has received 716 applications for tree protection permits, of which 523 permits have been approved. And we're continuing to look for ways to strengthen tree protection. Council has steadily increased tree canopy on public land. So approximately 13,500 trees were planted in parks and streets over the last 6 years. And canopy cover on public lands increased from about 13.8% in 2018 to 18.5% in 2023-24, which is the last data point we've got. Many of those trees are continuing to grow and the canopy cover is continuing to grow. We did use a new methodology to calculate this in 23-24. It's suitable for the job, but better value for money. What we don't have is an update of the canopy cover on private property. We do understand that overall canopy cover is decreasing on private property as the density of housing is increasing. And thank you. I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, the next question, series 3 questions are from Fliss Marlowe. Fliss isn't here this evening, so Anna, get to read some more.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you. The first question is, would Council consider joining the Rainbow Cities Network? Second question, will Council continue the trans and gender diverse swim nights at Reservoir Leisure Centre? And third, what amount of funding will be provided to implement the LGBTIQA+ action plan after it is adopted by Council in November?
Okay, and I think we'll start with Vanessa.
Thank you for the questions, Fliss. Through you, Mayor. Consultation and engagement activities to develop the LGBTQIA+ IA Plus Action Plan has shown that the community is aware of the benefits and opportunities of council's involvement in a range of partnerships, advocacy and networks to support LGBTQIA plus people, their allies and their support systems. Consideration of council's membership and investment in the networks and partnerships will be made once the next stage of the action plan is developed.
Nina? Yep.
Thank you for your question, Fliss, and through you, Mayor. In regard to the trans and gender diverse swim nights at Reservoir Leisure Centre, Council recognises that these swim nights were valued by our community, and we are very eager to see them recommence at the centre. Officers are currently working towards restarting these during the upcoming summer season.
Okay, and I think back to you, Vanessa.
And for your third question, Council's LGBTQIA plus action plan is being developed, and consultation and engagement activities are in the final stages to understand needs, aspirations and opportunities that could form actions within the plan. It's a whole of organisation plan and actions delivered by various council services. And once the draft actions have been prioritised and costed, Council will consider ongoing funding allocation to deliver the plan. An annual budget of $40,000 has been allocated this year to the plan delivery, and that will be used for selected actions from the plan. And the total funding allocation across the whole plan will be understood when the action plan is adopted.
Thank you. Ben Horth, I think should be here. Ben is not here, so perhaps we'll get that question read out.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Ben's question is, this question is directed to councillors as a whole rather than council officers. In the wake of the tragic passing of former councillor Greco, which I know touched many of us very deeply, including councillors and council staff, what steps is council taking, planning or considering to memorialise his legacy in Darebin and to continue the crucial intercultural community-focused work of which his career in the city of Darebin was such a shining example?
So I'll take that one. Thank you for your question, Ben. On Saturday the 5th of July, some of you may have attended. There were certainly many councillors and officers joined Councillor Greco's family and friends and many community members at the Northcote Town Hall for an event that celebrated his life and his contribution to Darebin. So the planning for this large community event was led by Councillor Greco's family, but Council went to great effort to make sure that that the event followed their wishes and were able to support them with that. So Council is aware that there is great interest in the community in finding other ways to further recognise Councillor Greco's important contribution to Darebin. We're probably still coming to terms at the moment with Councillor Greco's passing, so we've yet to consider further initiatives, but I think we can say we will do that. So that's pretty much it for that one. Thank you. So the next question is Angus Cook. Is Angus in the room? No. Anna.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Angus has 3 questions and was the first person to submit questions. So the 3 questions are, was the local community consulted about the approval of a McDonald's restaurant in this location? And if so, what feedback was received? The second question, how does Council assess the impact of fast food chains on the local economy, particularly in areas with a high concentration of small independent food businesses? And the third question, what planning considerations were given to traffic, litter and noise impacts associated with a 24-hour fast food venue in a residential and retail precinct?
Thank you. Vanessa?
Thank you, everyone, for your questions about this application. The application for 323 High Street was received by Darebin on the 2nd of July 2025 and it's under its initial assessment. Council does not own the land, but there is a legal agreement between Council and the owner of the site to provide and maintain a public walkway and toilets. In assessing the application, Council will consider the matters which are relevant to each of the triggers for a planning permit, as well as the relevant zone, overlays and policies within the planning scheme. If the application is advertised, Council will also consider all submitted objections. It is important to note that the site is within the Commercial 1 zone and that no permit is required to use land for a convenience restaurant. In other words, the use of the land is as of right. A decision on the application is still some months away.
Anna, we have a question from Angela Denton, who's not attending.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, the questions are in relation to parking on Aldous Avenue. The first question is, if it takes 3 business days to respond to an urgent parking compliance matter, how long does it take for officers to respond to a non-urgent parking compliance complaint? Residents in Aldous Avenue who are only entitled to 1 parking permit because they have off-street parking have been issued with and are using year-long temporary visitor permits for ongoing residential parking. And the second question is, can Council clarify the use of temporary visitor parking permits? Why did Council issue a year-long temporary visitors permit, and is this an ongoing new type of parking permit?
Vanessa? Thank you.
Thank you for your questions, Angela, and through you, Mayor. For your first question, the service level for actioning reports of illegal parking is 3 business days. And for your second question, Council endorsed an update to the parking permit policy in November 2023. When the updated policy was endorsed, there were changes to permit types, which properties are eligible for permits, and how many permits eligible properties can access. The decision of Council also allowed the use of transferable resident permits until visitor permits are made available. We haven't made the short-term visitor permits available yet, so the year-long transferable permits are still in use. These transferable permits can be used by residents for their own cars or for their visitors.
Darren Tides has a question around sporting clubs. Anna?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Can Council please explain why these particular clubs have received funding over others for more urgent needs and how these decisions were made?
Rachel?
Thanks, Mayor. So I understand the question, and I know you sent some further information through, Darren, but I understand the question to be partly a comment about the budget decision. In terms of the process for how these decisions are made, every year Council receives many more requests for improvements than it can fund, and it needs to make difficult choices about what to prioritise. In making decisions, it considers community feedback, the condition of grounds, the age of facilities, and where population growth is expected, amongst other things. In regards to the 2 initiatives you mentioned in the information you sent us, Council received community submissions when it was consulting on its budget, and these were considered in the decision making. We are keen to work really well with all clubs, and an officer will reach out to you this week to discuss further. Thank you.
Manuel Goncalves? Thank you. Please feel free to come up to the lectern and turn the microphone on. Thank you. Yep. You have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Can I first read up what is the occupational health and safety?
Yes, you need to read out your question. You have 2 minutes.
Under the section 21st of the Occupational Health and Safety Act 2004, employers' main duties to employees are. I'm going to skip the 21 seconds. I'm going to the 23rd.
We just need your question.
sections.
Just your question, thank you.
Okay. an employer, duties of employers to other persons, an employer must ensure, so far as reason practical, that a person under then employees of the employer are not exposed to risks. Oh my God, exposed to risks to their health or safety arise from the conduct of the undertaker of the employer.
I'm sorry, Emmanuel, can you please get to your question?
I report that to the council on 18 of 6. So this photo was taken on 13 of the 6, 19 or 95, but the first time I report...
You've got 25 seconds left if you haven't got to your question
First
yet.
time I report was through the app, Snap or Slab or whatever, and after I've been emailed all the mayors. No, not the one now, but all the mayors. That is not fixed yet. That is a footpath. That is a council car park. So any kids can put the feet there. And I explained to the council how this would be fixed. But what the council does, go there, pushes back. And after 3 weeks, the cars goes on the top, slice back. Go
Okay,
on.
I'm going to have to ask you to finish up. Thank you. Sorry.
Mayor, could I just make a suggestion? Perhaps we have an officer read out what the questions that were submitted so that we can...
Yes,
if that's okay.
There's just the one question.
Sure, through you, Mayor. The question that we received was, why doesn't council allow me to take photo evidence of OHS issues when council claims that WorkSafe found me in the wrong every time?
Rachel, thank you.
Thank you, Manuel. It's actually been really helpful to see the photo you've brought in. We weren't entirely sure from the information which matter you were wanting us to try and resolve. So we'll take a look at that this week. I think we know the location that you've pointed that one out.
Anyway, the ones I've been talking about is one from the leisure centre. Where the council has been the breach of occupational health and safety for 7 years.
Okay.
The same one.
If you can send us in an email about that and we can follow up on that one too.
So many emails to everyone.
Okay.
Even to the library, recreation centre.
Okay, the officers will make contact with you and can have a conversation about that one. So thank you. The next question is from John Nugent, who's not here, but Anna, if you could read that out, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. John has 3 questions. The first is in relation to the new subsidy performance policy. Does this mean that small junior clubs and disability clubs who cannot meet the criteria will be disadvantaged again this financial year? The second question, Mayor, could you please advise why grounds such as Pitcher Reserve, McDonald Park and Moore Park on the same rating as Donath West Reserve grounds have a good, healthy covering of grass all over them while Donath West grounds doesn't have? And the third question, now that the NFNL have vacated the Preston City Oval, will this council look after the shoppers, residents and shop owners with the parking at the Preston Market?
I think we'll start with Rachel. No, start with Nina. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, John, and through you, Mayor. As advised at the 16 December 2024 Council meeting, on 29 April 2024, Council endorsed the continuation of the current performance subsidy program and a holistic review of the sporting fees, charges and occupancy agreement policy in 2025. In preparation for this holistic review, which will occur in 2025, we have undertaken a survey of clubs. I can also reconfirm junior clubs are eligible to participate in the current performance subsidy program, which does have a criteria relating to junior teams and encouraging and rewarding participation by people with a disability.
And now Rachel.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, John, for your question about the condition of Donath Reserve. So the grounds are recovering well. There were some issues over summer. At Donath West, we had 2 irrigation failures, a pump failure and a mainline blowout near the pavilion. We've been helping the turf recover. We've irrigated, aerated and fertilised. Overall, we're pleased with the progress and we expect it to continue to recover to its normal standard.
Good to hear, thank you. The next question, a couple of questions are from Matthew Zammit. The first one's on e-scooters and then... Apologies. Vanessa, question 3.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the question. Preston Market Management control what parking restrictions are used at the market site, and Council does not get involved in compensation when market conditions change, including when organisations move venues.
Okay. Now we'll go on to Matthew's questions. They're about e-scooters and legal fees.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Matthew's first question is, now that Darebin City Council has spent the allocated $50,000 in selecting the sites, locations proposed for the e-scooter trial, what other locations that have been selected and how can the public access this information? And the second 2 questions are one about legal fees. What is the aggregate dollar figure which represents the cost to Darebin City Council for all legal fees, disbursements, arbitrated awards and other settlements to individuals or body corporates in relation to all legal advice proceedings, legal matters or complaints involving Darebin City Council for the 2024-2025 financial year? And the third question is, what internal actions will Darebin City Council be taking in light of the recently published decision of the Fair Work Commission, which made a finding of unfair dismissal against Darebin City Council? How will costly outcomes and reputational damage such as this be prevented in the future?
Okay, we'll go first to the e-scooter one. We'll go to Vanessa Petrie, please.
Thank you, Matthew, for your question, and through you, Mayor. Prior to installing any physical dedicated bays for the e-scooter trial, nearby properties and businesses will be engaged for consultation. This is scheduled to occur through September, and once this work is completed, further information will be released about the parking bay locations.
Thank you. And Carolyn?
Thank you, Matthew, for your question, and through you, Chair. So to provide transparency of legal costs, they are reported at the aggregate level in our annual report. We are still in the process of closing off the 24-25 financial year, so we don't have the figure finalized, but you will be able to refer to it in the annual report when it's published. Regarding the Fair Work Commission, while we're not able to provide comment on individual employment matters, Council remains committed to maintaining robust and fair processes in all employment-related decisions. Council will review the Fair Work Commission's findings to inform our continuous improvement processes. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the end of public question time. We don't have any submissions this evening, but we do have one petition. So, Councillors, just reminding you, and particularly Councillor Sangster, who will present this petition, that in tabling a petition, you must confine yourself to stating the following: the person from whom it comes, the number of signatories to it, the material matters expressed in it, and the text of the petition. So, Councillor Sangster, thank you for circulating the petition to councillors earlier, and if you'd like to present that.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So, hello everyone. I seek to table a petition concerning the protection of 2 significant trees at 148 Ballantyne Street, Thornbury, and also improving Darebin Council's tree protection policies to be referred to the CEO for consideration and response. The hard copy petition has been signed by approximately 117 people and complies with the council governance rules, Additionally, a further 686 signatures have been collected through the online petition on the open petition platform. And I've just been informed that the petition has just reached nearly 800 signatures. The petition reads as follows. We call on Darebin City Council to take immediate action to protect two large, significant native trees located at 148 Ballantyne Street, Thornbury. These trees have trunk girths of approximately 3.7 metres and 3.9 metres, qualifying them as significant under Darebin's private tree protection policy. Their ecological, environmental, aesthetic and community values are substantial and irreplaceable. These mature native trees support local biodiversity and provide essential habitat for wildlife, offer urban heat mitigation and help manage stormwater runoff in this flood-prone area, contribute to the neighbourhood character, amenity and heritage value, and embody the community's connection to nature and to our urban forest. We are deeply concerned that the trees are at imminent risk with an application for their removal already lodged. We believe this sets a dangerous precedent, and in light of this, we respectfully demand Darebin Council immediately commission independent ecological, heritage and arboricultural assessments of the trees at 148 Ballantyne Street and share these findings. Ensure that any removal application is paused until a fully independent ecological, heritage and arboricultural assessment has been undertaken. Ensure any application process undergoes a transparent, evidence-based assessment with public visibility and community consultation, and investigate opportunities for Darebin Council, Melbourne Water or other entities to acquire the land to enable the protection of the trees and possible creation of pocket park connected to the Bracken Avenue open space corridor. Review Darebin's current tree protection policies and planning requirements to ensure they are robust, effective and enforced consistently across the municipality. We urge Darebin to look at the stronger planting controls and tree protection mechanisms like those adopted by Moonee Valley and Burundara councils, together with the establishment of a significant tree register for this city, and finally to treat removal of significant trees only as a last resort after all other options have been fully exhausted. This is not just about two trees. This is about preserving our urban forest, protecting biodiversity, and maintaining community trust in the Council's commitment to sustainability and environmental stewardship. We urge the Darebin Council to act decisively and to uphold its obligation to protect trees of significance and the values that they represent. And I move that the Council accept and note this petition, and I call for a report on the subject matter of the petition as per Rule 16.3.4, sub-point 3 in the governance rules. Thank you.
So for the moment, we're just looking for a seconder to the tabling of the petition, as moved by Councillor Sangster. Councillor O'Brien, thank you. I'll now call on Melanie De Monaco, the submitter of the petition, to make a 2-minute submission. Thank you, Melanie.
Hello, Mayor and councillors. We're here tonight presenting a petition from almost 800 local people calling for Council's urgent protection of two significant sugar gum trees at 148 Ballantyne Street in Thornbury. These native trees stand over 25 metres tall with girths of almost 4 metres each. They qualify as significant under Darebin's own tree protection policy. Yet right now, they are under direct threat. A new owner of the property looking to develop it has applied to Council to remove them entirely. These trees are believed to be the oldest and largest in Thornbury. They are much loved local landmarks and have stood for generations. Hundreds of petition comments reflect how deeply valued they are by the local community. They're irreplaceable and too important to lose. Council's own urban forest strategy clearly recognises that mature trees like these clean our air, cool our suburbs, absorb rainwater, help mitigate flood, provide vital habitat for wildlife, support the physical and mental health of our residents, and even help calm traffic. These are not just nice to have. Trees are essential public infrastructure. Climate change is bringing us more hot days, more flooding events, more habitat loss. We need mature trees for the multi-layered, interconnected benefits they bring to a community. Big trees help protect us. Yes, they may require responsible management, but the solution is care, not removal. These trees make our neighbourhoods safer, healthier, and more livable. With growing development pressures, it's critical we put stronger protections in place for mature trees, whether they grow on public or private land. We need action and commitment from our council. Our petition calls for full and independent assessment of the trees at 148 Ballantyne, a transparent and evidence-based process with public visibility, the exploration of possible public acquisition of the site at 148 Ballantyne, and introduction of stronger tree protection mechanisms in Darebin for all significant trees. Please support this petition to protect these sugar gums as an essential part of Darebin's urban forest for this generation and the next. We urge Council to act decisively to uphold its obligations to protect trees of significance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sangston, we need some clarification. You've put this forward to the CEO for consideration and response, but then you have later said that you're putting this forward for a report. So which is it?
Apologies, I'd like to put it forward for a report.
Sorry, we're just getting some governance advice. Okay, we will go with the report. Do you have a date for when you would like that report?
No, I do not have a date. I'm at the discretion of the CEO. Thank you.
Okay, so all those. Oh, so is the second still happy with that, given it's changed? Okay. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
Can I raise a point of order, Mayor? Just a question, really.
Sure.
The next clause, because I feel like this is a bit of a novel thing, so I think we should clarify it for everyone. The next clause says if a petition relates to an operational or service matter, council must only resolve to refer it to the CEO for consideration. So I'm just asking the question if it is an operational matter. I have no problem with seeking a report. I'm just asking if it is an operational matter and we can actually, if we actually have the power to resolve in this way. That's all.
No, it's a good question,
it's
and
an operational matter.
Had someone do this before, so it is an operational matter. So in that case, no report. If it's operational, no report. Okay, no report. Sorry. So we're back to it just being a petition that's coming in for the CEO to respond to.
Yes, through the chair, though, for council's information, I'm very happy to let you know the outcome.
That will be gratefully received. Thank you.
Okay. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's accepted unanimously. Thank you very much, and thank you to the submitter for your time and commitment. Thank you. Okay. All right, now we're up to the consideration of reports. So the first report is the establishment of a community reference group for 2 Wingrove Street, Alphington. Do we have a motion? Yes, go ahead. Well, we'll do the questions once we've seen the motion, I think. So you're putting that forward, Councillor Dimitriadis?
Mayor, I had
Yes.
an updated amendment.
Is that it? Keep going down, I think.
Oh, no, that's yes.
Yep. Okay. Now, this has been circulated, is that correct? Yeah. So does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask of officers relating to this report? Councillor Jelly? Motion, sorry.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Just wondering if we can get some clarification. It's not clear to me, which is why I circulated an amendment. So perhaps the answer to this question can negate the need to proceed with the amendment that I was proposing. So it says the recruitment of members to the community reference group should occur in the following manner. Invitations to be extended to each of the following categories. Oh, sorry, this is actually quite different. So how many people from each of these categories would then be, so there's a question for officers. So in your interpretation of this proposal, how many members from each of these different groups, so nearby businesses, key interest community groups, individuals, organisations with relevant skills and interests, so how many would they potentially be in number in terms of their representation on the CRG?
I will let the officers answer this, but...
Sorry, Mayor. Yes, that wasn't my latest...
Oh, not the latest version?
No.
Okay, apologies. Can we get the right one up?
Sorry about that.
Apologies, it's coming.
Mayor, can I put forward a procedural motion that we adjourn for 5 minutes to establish that we have the right wording in front of us?
I think we have the right wording, so you want time to consider it, is that what you're saying? So the only difference is where it says under the following categories from the previous version. And point B, actually, is slightly differently worded. So do you still want your question?
Yes, I think my question still applies to this. So that being how many then potentially could be represented on the community reference group.
I'm happy to respond to that one through the chair, and then Ms. Olivia will speak up if I have a different interpretation. If I was to implement this one as worded, we'd be extending invitations to all of those entities with the dot points next to the name, of which there are 10. And then part B would be an 11th invitation to the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Cultural Heritage Aboriginal Corporation. And then with 12 to 15 in total on the committee, if all of those invitations were accepted, there'd be up to another 4 members.
Are there any other questions people would like to ask of the officers? Did you have one, Matt? No, Councillor Turi? No? Okay. All right. So do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Salkos? Does the mover wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Firstly, I want to acknowledge all the community members, local organisation and local businesses who have been fiercely advocating to Council to have a say about the future of 2 Wingrove Street in Alphington. We have listened, and today we are establishing a community reference group for this site to enable community and stakeholder voices to be meaningfully represented through the planning and development stages of the site. The community reference group will comprise of 12 to 15 members, prioritising nearby residents, nearby businesses, key interest and community groups, individuals or organisations with relevant skills and interests. And the group will be established through a community and stakeholder working group model to allow for ongoing dialogue between council, stakeholders and the community. This model will also ensure the engagement is inclusive, transparent and aligned with key project milestones, while helping to shape outcomes that reflect shared values and priorities for the site at 2 Wingrove Street. Finally, thank you to the officers for putting this report together. I commend this motion to the Chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Dimitriadis. Councillor Salkos, would you like to speak as a seconder?
I will reserve my right, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Are there any councillors who wish to speak in opposition to the motion? Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Mayor. So just to say, yes, I don't support this particular approach based on what we have before us in the report in general. I would say the officers' work outlined many approaches of how we could do this, and the original proposal that we looked at sought a balance of representation, time and cost to ensure the best outcomes, while what we have before us now is directing us to a different model that is clearly identified in the report with a potential con of may lack broader community representation. While all of the businesses and groups listed, I'm sure, could have valuable inputs, if this motion is supported, we're running the risk of processes being skewed rather than genuinely open, as was the intent of the report. Concerns about this approach and details of the alternative before us were not shared until late this afternoon. So once again, we find ourselves faced with making decisions without sufficient time to consider or discuss the implications. And I just don't think that's something I can support. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers in favour of the motion? Councillor Arturi.
Thanks, Mayor. As Councillor Dimitriadis pointed out, this is a long-standing, the site represents a long-standing issue, and I think it's really good that we can get on and proceed with this CRG, and I also want to thank officers for bringing this report. The amendment, I think, is important because if we are to establish a CRG, it's important that key stakeholders are indeed involved, or at least given the option to be involved. They don't ultimately have to accept it, as it says in the red writing on the screen there, that it is only an invitation, but they ought to be offered it in the first instance. And of course, the balance of the CRG would be open through the EOI process. It may be 4, it may be more than 4, depending on what the responses are to those initial invitations. But it is important to note that these groups that are listed on the screen here either hold particular expertise or would be, I guess, disproportionately affected, for lack of a better term, by any future changes or work at the site. So I think their input is particularly important. So I will be supporting this motion.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Jelly.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move an amendment which I've just circulated around. I can read out the wording if that's of assistance to staff for bringing up on screen and for officers and for officers, councillors. How about I read out the wording that I'm proposing?
Sure. Is that it on the screen?
It's a version of that because it's very confusing because the motion that was moved, so I've literally only just sent something around.
Okay, can we just, if you could just sit down, we'll get the motion up. Thank you. Okay, so that's now up on the screen. That's the correct version, is that right? So essentially you're asking for one representative from each of the categories.
Yes, that's correct.
And the remainder then would be?
Would be done by the EOI process.
Three people?
Yes, three from this group. If the mover and the seconder wanted to adjust the number to up to 2, I'd be happy with that sort of approach.
Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Sangster? Yeah. Councillor Demetriadis, do you accept this amendment?
No.
Okay, so we will debate the one on the screen first up. So would the mover like to talk to it?
Yes, thank you. So the reason for moving this...
Just a question, sorry.
Hang on a moment.
If this is an amendment, is this contrary to the original motion?
Not really. I'll accept it as an amendment.
Okay.
Thank you. Continue on.
Thank you for the clarification, Councillor Salkos. That's very useful. So my intent in moving this amendment is to ensure that we have a broad representation on this community reference group, and that there is it is very important to have these 3 different categories of key stakeholders in the area who are involved in this community reference group. I think that is vitally important for the success of this COG going forward. But I think that if we risk, without sort of putting some sort of boundaries around how many of them should be able to be represented on the group. I think there's a lot who have shared interests, and therefore there's benefit in them working together and nominating one representative from each of these three different categories to be represented on the group, and then from one of them. And there would be nothing to stop them from then putting, if additional businesses or community interest groups wanted also to put in an EOI, I think they'd be very well placed to put forward to and possibly be accepted into an EOI. But I think what we need to think about here is the principles of having broad community representation in this community reference group. This is a significant site, and there is deep interest from the whole community around this. But I think the proposal that we have in front of us, without my amendment, actually, no, I should be speaking just to my amendment. My apologies, Mayor. So really what I'm proposing here is to ensure that we have the best opportunity possible to get the broadest perspectives. And I believe that by encouraging these different the businesses and community groups within these three different categories to work together to nominate one as a representative who can speak on behalf of those who are currently very well connected to the site, that will bring up about a third or just under a third of the representation of this community reference group, allowing 2/3 or more to be, or 3/4 to be represented by others who can be selected through the expression of interest process. And I think that brings forward the opportunity for greater transparency, so that there is a clear process to determine the criteria by which people or representatives can actually be selected to be part of this community reference group. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Jelly. Would the seconder like to speak?
I reserve my right. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak in opposition to the motion?
Mayor, could I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Of the officers? Sorry.
We've entered debate at this point, so sorry.
Okay.
Councillor Arturi?
Thank you, Mayor. The way I read this amendment is that sort of within each category, for lack of a better term, they've got to kind of fight it out amongst themselves in terms of who accepts that invitation and gets to represent the rest of the group on there. So that might work for some categories. Perhaps the first category, that might work, as Councillor Jelly pointed out, they may have shared interest. The other ones, I think whilst they might fall into the same category, I think they may have quite varying views or bring different perspectives. So I don't know if that would actually be practical. But further to that, I think that in terms of broad representation, these categories and the individual groups were listed in those categories bring that broad representation, and would and then leave enough positions open to further broaden the representation on the CRG. So I think the intent of the amendment, I think, is I would agree with that we do need broad representation, but I think it is achieved by extending invitations to these groups individually, not, I guess, open it up to then sort of play one off against the other, which I don't think is the intention, but I think it could be sort of a byproduct of having this amendment accepted.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Dimitriadis?
Thank you, Mayor. So I'll be voting in against this amendment, and that's for a number of reasons. Firstly, all the listed organisations in the proposed amendment and even in here are actually relevant and key stakeholders. They have been connected to the site in some way or another. They've been advocating to us, and I believe they will be providing much valuable information to councillors when it does come to the future of the site. What I am concerned about is very similar to what Councillor Aturi said, and that was that choosing one organisation over the others would be problematic. For instance, in the key interest and community groups, we have the Alphington Commons, Melbourne Farmers Market and Alphington Community Centre, and choosing one of those organisations to represent a key interest or community group would be completely unfair, for starters, and it would also...
Point of order, Mayor. Sorry to interrupt you, Councillor Dimitriadis, but the wording of my nomination, my amendment is that each of these categories, these groups would nominate their own representative. So it's not that we would be choosing.
Point of order is there, sorry.
Sorry, I beg your pardon, Mayor, that it's misleading, so it's 10.1 G.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't find that misleading, but yeah, I think, yeah, I don't find it misleading.
Thank you, Mayor. As I was saying, and for clarity, of the key interest community groups, whether it's between Alphington Commons, Melbourne Farmers Market and Alphington Community Centre, they would choose one representative to be on the community reference group. And I don't believe that is a broad representation of our community, let alone would indicate that we're actually representing the interests of the whole community if we don't include all of them. So I think I'll be voting definitely against this. We need to have all these organisations represented on the community reference group.
Time's running up.
Yes, thank you. I'll be voting against.
Any other speakers? Okay, let's vote on...
Going back to the original amendment.
We're voting on whether this amendment is accepted?
Councillor Jelly's amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
There's no right on an amended motion. Oh, you reserved your right to speak. Apologies, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. Thank you to Councillor Dimitriadis for her passionate speech just then. I think if what we are trying to achieve is transparency and community engagement and inclusive principles, then the original council, the officer proposal was, you know, the most appropriate one. I would like to speak in support of Councillor Jelly's amendment because I think it actually is the version that opens up to wider community access to this space. As it is, we have some very loud, passionate, fantastic voices who are deeply committed to this site, and we're all great champions of them as they are champions of the space, but this doesn't mean they're the only voices that should be heard. And there is the principle of transparency, really important here, and I think that Councillor Jelly's amendment goes towards opening up this process, and I see no reason why we should be shutting it down and only speaking to a smaller number of groups and diminishing the space at the table for wider community consultation. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to the vote on whether we will accept the amended motion. So all of those in favour, please raise your hand. So Councillor Jelly, Councillor O'Brien and Councillor Sangster. All those opposed, please raise your hand. That's Councillor Aturi, Councillor Dimitriadis, Councillor Salkos and Councillor O'Laris. So we will now go back to the original motion. So I believe we had a mover speak, we've had a seconder reserve your right, had a couple of speakers. Is there anyone else who wants to speak back to this motion? Did you have an opportunity earlier?
I spoke on the amendment.
Okay. Go ahead then. Yep.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Dimitriadis, for bringing this forward to us. I think there are some, I think you raised some very valid concerns. I only wish that we had more time to be able to workshop to find a middle ground to accommodate some of those concerns, particularly around what you've noted about the importance of community, the community interest groups. So I'd also like to thank the officers for their work in bringing this report to us about the community reference group and what that might look like for our consideration tonight. And I note that the report states that input from the community reference group will align with key project milestones. So that ensures that the community input is timely and relevant to the point in time of each stage of this project. So allowing this will provide feedback that's grounded in local knowledge and lived experience, which is really incredibly important. However, as probably indicated through my moving of an amendment, I do have some concerns about this proposal, mostly because I believe it risks undermining the transparency and equity principles that were outlined as the benefits of a community and stakeholder group approach. I am concerned about, a small group of vested interests dominating the conversation, potentially crowding out voices of ordinary community members, whose voices we would normally be proud to elevate and champion. As I said before, this site holds strategic significance and is also a place of deep community interest, and the planning and development of this site must reflect the values and the needs of the local community. The purpose of the community reference group is to represent the full diversity of community, which calls for a transparent process and balanced representation. Thank you, Mayor, and I really urge Council to reconsider this particular approach, and let's try and protect the integrity of the community reference group and make sure that it serves the whole community. Thank you.
Okay, do we have other speakers? Yeah, Councillor Sangster.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Echoing some of the sentiments of Councillor Jelly, I urge the Council to reconsider this amendment recruitment method. Selecting specific groups to fill the seats undermines the very principles of inclusive and transparent engagement that this initiative is meant to uphold. Pre-selecting participants could raise questions of fairness and of transparency. A public call for expressions of interest ensures that selection is open, competitive and community-led. It builds trust, it encourages diversity of thought. We as a council have committed ourselves to transparency, and this is not following through on that commitment. Let's not just talk about community engagement, let's demonstrate it by opening the door to all those who wish to be involved. And having this, rather than hand selecting, this original process meant that everyone involved around the table would meet as equals, as opposed to there being the select group that are invited in and then the other people that have to go through the process of filling in forms and putting up their hand and being interviewed. So there's a clear demarcation from the beginning that there will be a different status between these groups, certainly maybe not externally but internally, and I see no reason to go through this process when we can just simply invite everyone to apply and they can all be judged on, their merits as they come forward. And obviously the groups that are committed and have done all this passionate work will find their voices at the table, but there's no reason not to go through a clear process with the community.
Okay, any other speakers? Yep, Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess just to round out some of the conversation or some of the thinking that's been shared.
Did you speak earlier to this motion?
To the amendment.
To the amendment, yeah, that's what I thought too. Okay, continue.
Thank you. So I think just the challenge that I see with this one is if we look at each of the categories and the people that are allocated to them or the organisations that are allocated to them, we end up with, I can't see the full list right now, but I think it was 10. And so 10 of 12 or 10 of 15 is a significant allocation, weighted allocation towards particular people who are nominated. There's nothing in what was put to us through the report that doesn't allow these people to actually go through the process, but nominating them directly does put them in a different stance or different stead to those that might come through the EOI process. And for all of the talking that we do and the clarity that we try to bring to our engagement processes to make sure that we're bringing people in equitably, my fear is this does the opposite ultimately. These people's voices are important, but everybody should have a fair say in entering the process and being assessed accordingly. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to just check if you want to take up your...
If I can.
Yeah, as a seconder, yeah, and then I'll come.
Thanks, Mayor, and I'm standing in support of this motion this evening. I want to thank Councillor Dimitriadis for being a strong advocate for her community down in Alphington. I know that 2 Wingrove Street has come up again and again in these chambers, and it's good to see this finally getting some traction. Thanks, Councillor Dimitriadis, for that. In regards to the invitations being sent out, we've listened to councillors this evening saying that this may be somewhat picking and choosing. However, what we're doing, councillors, is we're inviting these groups which are very invested in 2 Wingrove Street. They have their businesses there, they have their markets there, and they're very involved in that community. And we're inviting them. We're not saying they must be on the reference group. We're saying, come and join if you want to have your opinion heard. So I want to say thanks, Councillor Dimitriadis, for bringing this amendment tonight.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Dimitriadis, you've got a right of reply.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Tsalkos for raising a lot of the points. Basically, this is an invitation to the groups that have been fighting for this site for many years, businesses that have been locked out of this site unlawfully, and they want to know what their future holds. They want security. So this is actually a very transparent process of inviting them, these organisations, to take part, if they do, in the future of this site. All these organisations are key stakeholders. We've got the Darebin Creek Management Committee, Alphington Farmers Market, Alphington
Point
Commons.
of order, Mayor.
Yeah, would you like to state what your point of order is?
Yes, under 10.1G, just concerned about people being, a declaration of people being unlawfully locked out, or I'm not sure the exact wording, but the word
Sorry,
unlawfully.
Mayor, it was taken to court, and VCAT claimed that it was unlawful that the businesses were locked out of the site back in December 2021 or 2, I can't remember, but yeah, you can even read it in the papers.
So do you want to continue with that? Because
I'll take it back, I'll retract.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So as I was saying, giving invitations to these organisations that have been part of this fight for many years is a transparent process. We've listed them. They've included Darebin Creek Management Committee, Alphington Commons, who have made a huge investment, time and effort to see what can be done at this site. Melbourne Farmers Market, who are still there. There's Reground, who do great work, sustainable work for our community. I think these organisations need to be respected and at least offered to take part in this community reference group. Even Wurundjeri, we're offering them an invitation to take part. I think it would be inappropriate for organisations that are outside of this area that may want to be part of it without giving these particular local organisations a option to take part first. So I think I commend this motion to the council, and I thank everyone for their support.
Thank you, Councillor Dimitriadis. Okay, we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hand. Councillor Arturi, Councillor Dimitriadis, Councillor Tsalkos, Councillor Olaris. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Councillor Sangster, Councillor O'Brien. All those abstaining. Councillor Jelly. Thank you. Okay, we will now go on to the lease of Acacia Energy. This is the neighbourhood battery at 2 Wingrove Street, Alphington. Okay, can I first go to questions, or is there a... I have a question, thank you.
Bit of a circuit breaker for you, Mayor. To officers, given this is sort of an item that's come back with a slight sort of change in terms of who the lease is going to, can we just have confirmed that the the clauses of the motion and the intent of the lease are identical to the one that we carried with the original proposed lease.
Through you, Mayor. Thanks for the question, Councillor. Yes, that's correct. The intent is that the lease conditions would be exactly as previously endorsed. It's just a different provider that would be providing the lease to.
Any other questions? Okay. Do we have a motion, Councillor Dimitriadis?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation.
Do we have a seconder for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Sangster. Okay, would the mover like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Darebin will be home to another community battery in Alphington thanks to the Victorian Government's $750,000 grant to Village Power, and that's to implement the first ever subscription model community battery in Victoria. Thank you also to Village Power, a local not-for-profit organisation who have worked tirelessly over the past few years to bring this important project to life. Tonight, we are approving a lease to Acacia Energy, who has committed to collaborate with Village Power to deliver what will be known as the Village Power 100% Local Renewable Energy Program, which encourages households to shift to locally generated and stored renewable energy, supported by a community-scale battery that stores excess solar energy and releases it during peak demands. This program not only supports solar uptake, but increases capacity for energy export to the grid, and also reduces household electricity costs through a subscription model to the battery. I'm really looking forward to the delivery of this project and commend the motion to Council.
Thank you very much. Would the seconder like to speak?
Yes, thank you, through you, Mayor. So I too would like to speak in support of the officer recommendation. At a time when the impacts of climate change are intensifying with more extreme weather, higher energy costs and increasing pressure on the grid, community batteries offer a local, practical solution with broad benefits. This is not just about renewable energy infrastructure, this is about energy equity, resilience and climate responsibility. Community batteries allow residents, especially those who can't install solar themselves, such as renters or apartment dwellers, to share in the benefits of local clean energy. They reduce peak demand on the grid, help lower emissions and provide a buffer during outages. In essence, they democratise energy. This partnership enables us to be part of a growing national movement towards decentralised, community-owned energy solutions. It aligns with our Council's climate emergency commitments and our transition to a just, sustainable energy future. And I commend this recommendation and thank the officers for their work.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the motion? Any other speakers? Okay, we're going to go to a vote. So those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. Carried unanimously. Okay. The next item is the Council Support and Expenses Policy 2025. Are there any questions on this particular item? Do we have a mover of the motion? Councillor Jelly. Do we have a seconder?
Can I just clarify which motion is being moved?
So clarify that I'd be willing to move the revised officer recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Turi. Would the mover like to speak?
I'll rise to speak very briefly. Thank you, Mayor. Just to note that the Council Support and Expenses Policy has been updated and reflects the current needs and operations. And it's important to note that the change that's been noted here and recommended by officers is to ensure that when we are reporting on councillor conduct expenses, that encompasses work that is done and is undertaken to support the working relationships between councillors. And I think hopefully all of the councillors in the room here would agree with me when we say that we are trying to set a different path forward and in working together. And so it's important to acknowledge that there are a range of ways that we can be supported to do that. So, and I thank councillors for their efforts and collaboration, even though we've still got a few speed bumps in the road to navigate, but I'm very confident that we can do this together. So I commend the motion to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak?
Yeah, very briefly. I'd like to rise and also associate myself with the comments of Councillor Jelly. It is an important change, I think, for two reasons. One is confidentiality, and the second is what we are trying to do as a new councillor group. I think that is particularly important because we are undertaking proactive and taking proactive measures as a group to make sure that we can collaborate and work together effectively and, more importantly, respectfully, which, as many will know, has been an issue in the past, but hopefully that stays in the past. And the other point I'd just like to make is that the phrasing of this particular clause at 18.1.1 of the policy is important because often mediation is not always adversarial. Of course, we see it's including but not limited to mediation arbitration. It's not always adversarial, but does actually seek to improve often the working relationships between councillors. So I think it is important that we categorise these expenses in this way. And of course, there are other consequential amendments to line up with the Local Government Act and industry standards as well. And I commend the motion to the chamber.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the motion? Any other councillors who wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's carried unanimously. The next report is the governance report from July 2025. So, do we have any questions of officers regarding, thank you, it's a revised officer recommendation. Do we have any questions of officers regarding this item? Okay. Do we have a mover of the motion? Councillor Jelly. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Salkos. Does the mover wish to speak?
Oh, just very briefly, thank you, Mayor. To note that the officer's recommendation here is to defer the update to the election advertising signage and electioneering policy until after the current by-election that's in train is completed. So just for full transparency, so for anybody who's watching this at home and finds it difficult to read that tiny text on screen, that's what the change is. Otherwise, I'm very happy to report that this is a very straightforward governance report. Having read through it very thoroughly and found there's nothing, there are no snakes in the grass here. So it is exactly what it should be doing. It's just reporting on all the things that we've been doing, covers off all of our statutory reporting requirements. And I thank officers for the time that it takes to compile these reports in the spirit of accountability and transparency, which comes under one of our strategic pillars in our new council plan. Thank you.
Councillor Salkos, did you want to speak as a seconder?
I'm all good, thanks, Mayor.
All good. Okay. Is there anyone wanting to speak in opposition? We might jump straight to the vote, I think. So all those in favour, please raise your hand. It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we now have the Domestic Animal Management Plan consultation. Have we got that? Can we get that motion up? Yep, thank you. Do councillors have any questions of officers that they would like to ask in relation to this report? Okay, do we have a mover of the report? Councillor O'Brien. Seconder, Councillor Arturi. Does the mover wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll stand here and say I'm supporting this motion, and that is as a proud mum, pet mum, to a scruffy dog and a very fluffy cat, and also in loving memory of one of my cats who passed away recently. Animal management is something that I care deeply about. All of my 3 pets were adopted from small rescue organisations, and I would like to acknowledge the many that we have in Darebin. They're the quiet heroes in our community. They save lives and they bring love into our homes. That is why I'm so pleased to support Darebin's new Domestic Animal Management Plan, or DAMP. Not a great acronym, but there we go. Which sets out how we care for animals while protecting our neighbourhoods and the environment. Our new plan will go beyond the state's basic requirements, while we see ourselves expanding it to include biodiversity, recognising the impact domestic animals, especially cats, can have on native wildlife. Just as important is how we engage our community. Our consultation will be inclusive, multicultural, multilingual, and accessible, reaching people in parks, pet stores, vet clinics, and rescue networks. Officers will host walk and talk pop-ups and provide translated materials in the top 12 languages spoken in Darebin. We'll also work closely with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander leaders to ensure a culturally safe process. This work is being done in partnership with Merrybeck and Whittlesea councils through our shared Watgaring Animal Facility. While each council will tailor our own plans, we're streamlining consultation and learning together. This consultation isn't just for pet owners. Animal management affects everybody, from noise and safety to the health of our parks and our public spaces. Staff have advised that dog attacks on people and other dogs are increasing, and I've recently heard concerns from residents about nuisance barking and unclear complaint processes. I hope this plan provides clearer pathways, and where enforcement is needed, that it's both compassionate and effective. Finally, we must do better for lost and impounded animals by increasing reclaims and rehoming, and working to significantly reduce euthanasia rates. I thank the staff for their dedicated and thoughtful work so far, and I look forward to the next phase of engagement and to delivering a plan that supports our furry friends, our community, and our environment in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tui, would you like to speak?
Yes, briefly, Mayor. Thank you. In addition to what Councillor O'Brien said, I think she gave a very good summary of the report, so thank you, Councillor. At the most recent registration period, there's almost 14,000 registered domestic animals in the city of Darebin, just over 9,000 dogs and just under 5,000 registered cats. In this DAMP, I agree that it's not the best acronym, but there you have it. The proposed priorities being considered for the new DAMP include 24-hour cat curfew, review of the cat trapping program, mandatory desexing of cats, feasibility study of introducing mandatory dog desexing, emergency pet boarding, animal management agreements after hours emergency response. I read those out because I would imagine that some of these measures might attract very varying views in the community, and I think it's important that we obtain that feedback across those key priorities, and not just from pet owners, as Councillor O'Brien said, but from the broader community, as we are all in some way, shape or form affected by the ownership and control of domestic animals. So I would encourage on that note for all these members of the community to have their say on the draft DAMP through Council's Your Say channels online and in person at key sites, as the mover pointed out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone who wants to speak in opposition to this motion? No. Anyone else want to speak? Go straight to the vote. Thank you. Those in favour, raise your hand. That one's carried unanimously. Thank you. The next report is the Darebin Libraries Procurement Australia contract. up on the screen at the moment. Does anyone have any questions of the officers? Councillor Jelly?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. One thing I noted as I was reading through the report, raised a question that I'd like to ask through you of officers. Just a query, what is the meaning of shelf-ready services, and what does that include? Would you like me to ask the question again? Yes, certainly. Should have had it out a little bit more and explained more that I'm, the daughter of a librarian and sister-in-law of a librarian, and I have worked in a library. So I'm really curious to know through you, Mayor, what does shelf-ready services include?
Just through you, Madam Mayor. So shelf-ready services include a range of services from the vendor when purchasing library items, and such as books and audiovisual material. And shelf-ready services prepare the library item for use. So it can include things like preparing a catalogue record for the library catalogue, physical processing such as the covering or repackaging of the item, and applying spine labels and RFID barcode labels as well to the items. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, do we have a mover for this motion? Councillor Sangster. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Jelly. Does the mover wish to speak?
Sure, thank you. Through you, Mayor, I rise to support the officer recommendation. By accessing this Procurement Australia contract, Darebin Council ensures a compliant, efficient and sustainable approach to procuring library collection items, furniture and technology. This is an investment in our community's future. Libraries are vital public spaces that support lifelong learning, digital inclusion and social connection. Libraries open our imaginations, they challenge our prejudices, they stimulate our souls. Our libraries are refuges for the lonely, and they offer sanctuary to those seeking warmth in the cold and cold in the heat. And they have books, lots and lots and lots and lots of books, and we love books. Libraries are awesome. This contract allows us to equip them with the resources they need cost effectively and responsibly. Authorising the CEO to action this ensures streamlined processes and timely delivery. It's smart, it's future focused, and it's exactly the kind of practical decision our community expects of us. I commend this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who wishes to speak? Councillor Jelly?
Thanks, Mayor. I'll just speak briefly as the seconder for this motion, just to thank council staff for the work in the report, and just to encourage the general community, particularly those who are interested in how our libraries are run, to actually read through the report. It does provide some really interesting information about the number of languages that we are getting stock, such a bookseller term, but the number of languages that we're sourcing materials in to serve our vastly diverse community, and the range of materials. So it's not just books, we've also got DVDs and a range of audiovisual materials. There's also ebooks and audiobooks and a whole range of materials. So libraries these days are very complex organisations to run, and having a centralised procurement process and a contract like this actually helps us to deliver those services very effectively and efficiently, with the heart of our community at the centre of what it is we're trying to provide through our libraries. And in saying that, I'd like to extend my deep gratitude and thanks to all of the staff and all of the Darebin libraries who do excellent work supporting our community in so many ways every single day, every minute that they are open. So thank you, and I commend the motion.
Do we have anyone who wants to speak in opposition? Anyone else who wants to speak? Okay, we're going to move to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hand. Carried unanimously. Thank you. The next one is another contract for, this time for bulk bill fuel and fuel cards. Probably a little bit less exciting to talk about, but anyway. So, do we have a mover of this motion? It is an important motion, so I shouldn't downplay it. Oh. Anyone prepared to move the motion? Councillor Sangster, Councillor Salkos, you prepared to second? Okay, thank you. Oh, is that it? Oh, apologies. Here we go. So now we have in the name of the actual awarded companies that we're recommending. So we're still happy? Would the MEPA like to speak?
Very briefly, through you, Mayor, I'd just like to put forward this motion and to thank the officers for their incredible work, as always, in guiding us to the most efficient way forward when it comes to spending community money on vital council assets. Thank you.
Councillor Salkos, would you like to speak?
I'll reserve my right.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Councillor O'Brien?
Thank you. I just thought there was a couple of things to draw out from this. So beyond the decision itself, I guess what sits behind this decision and a number of important things relevant to it. So the background of the paper notes the transition to hybrid and electric vehicles, which is well underway for our light fleet, but we still have a way to go when it comes to our heavy vehicles. The report also notes that we're continuing to offset the emissions from fuel use and to maintain our carbon neutral status in relation to these items. Item 4 before us in the recommendation authorises the CEO to approve fuel price variations in line with international oil price fluctuations over the life of the contract. And that's a very practical step, but it also reminds us of the volatility and risk attached to fossil fuel reliance. When we look at our budgets, we can see we are set to invest heavily in our heavy fleet vehicles in the coming years, with almost 2 million this financial year, nearly 5 million across the term, and over 24 million projected over the 10 years ahead. This is significant investment, and it presents us with a real opportunity. As technology becomes more available in the domestic market, a steady shift away from fossil fuel reliant heavy vehicles towards hybrid or ideally fully electric alternatives is not just good climate policy, it's good financial and risk management. Moving faster on this transition will reduce our exposure to volatile fuel prices and carbon offset costs and strengthen our control over our long-term operational risks. I also want to acknowledge the collaborative procurement approach staff are using here and in other procurement-related matters we've dealt with tonight. This is smart, strategic, and a cost-effective way of working. With early work on reviewing our own procurement policy now underway, we have a great opportunity ahead to embed stronger values, sustainability standards, and contract requirements, not just for our own procurement, but for also those future collaborative processes. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Salkos? No? Okay, we're going to go to the vote then. All those in favour of this motion, raise your hand. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so we are now going on to notice of motion. There is just one, and it's from Councillor Sangster. Would you like to speak to this? Oh, apologies. It does need a seconder. And Councillor Arturi will second that, if you'd like to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Arturi. Yes, through you, Mayor. So the NOM and its rationale has all been forwarded to you and is up on the screen. Tonight, I do bring forward a motion of remembrance, reflection and renewed responsibility for our commitment to stand against the possibility of future nuclear conflict. 80 years ago, the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki claimed over 210,000 lives. Those who survived, known as the Haibusha, and their descendants continue to live with the intergenerational trauma of nuclear warfare. By acknowledging these anniversaries, we honour their memory and their courage, and we say clearly that we have not forgotten. We also recognise that nuclear weapons remain a threat. Whether by accident or design, their use would be catastrophic. Darebin is home to Nobel Peace Prize winners Dimity Hawkins and Dave Sweeney, the co-founders of ICAN, the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons. And they, alongside the late elder Yami Lester, whose story is painted on our Preston Library just outside these offices, have shown that local activism can be part In fact, that's the beginning of the international movement towards peace. So this motion continues Darebin's proud legacy. It reflects our community's values and calls on the federal government to take concrete action by signing and ratifying the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. In this time of shadow, where internationally the drums of war are beating ever louder and countries are being called to take up weapons, we are called at a local level to take a stand. So let us honour the past and act for a safer future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sangster. Councillor Tui.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Sangster. I also rise to support this motion and to acknowledge and remember these important historic events as we approach their 80th anniversaries in about a week's time. When this motion was circulated to councillors, I read about what exactly Hibakusha referred to. And of course, as Councillor Sangster pointed out, it's the Japanese word that refers to the survivors of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and directly it translates to people affected by the bomb. These individuals experienced not only the immediate destruction caused by the bombings, but also long-lasting health problems from radiation exposure, emotional trauma, and social stigma. Despite these challenges, many Hibakusha have become strong voices for peace and nuclear disarmament, using their experiences to raise awareness and prevent future disasters. Along with those who tragically lost their lives in the bombings, these survivors are the ones that we also honour and remember on this anniversary, and I too commend the motion to the Chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Arturi. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this motion? Okay, well, we will put this to the vote then. All those in favour in supporting this motion, raise your hand. That's carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Sangster. We have no urgent business this evening. We have no confidential reports this evening. So I now close the meeting at 7:44 p.m. Thank you to everyone online and to all of those here in the room. Good night and thank you for your time tonight. We can stop the